It's my favorite segment of the week. It is the Steelers Talk mailbag here on Steelers Talk for week 2. We were filming this just days before the Steelers home opener versus the Seattle Seahawks, which is slated to be played on Sunday at Acrisure Stadium. It is Aaron Rodgers' home debut as a Pittsburgh Steeler, as well as DK Metcalf's revenge game. So I'm sure we got a bunch of great questions on this week's mailbag, so I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. But if you guys want to click that subscribe button, join the Steelers Talk family today. We put out videos like this just about every single day. Most times we put out 2 a day. We go live for every single Steelers game. We'll be going live for this game between the Steelers and Seahawks, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 90 minutes of pregame, followed by live play-by-play, and then extensive post-game coverage for you guys. So if you want to join the most interactive Steelers fan community anywhere on YouTube, click that subscribe button right now. $5 super chat from my man Justin Yankuski says, do you think Colts game could be a trap game? We haven't beaten them since 22. I think it could be. I think that offense, I think that team's going to be better than people think. Like, people kind of assume because it's Daniel Jones that they'll win 4 games or something like that. But, like, Shane Steichen, I think, is a good coach, especially a good offensive designer and good game planner. And he's very good with quarterbacks. And they've got weapons now. They got Michael Pittman. They got Alec Pierce. They got Josh Downs, a really good slot wide receiver. They got Tyler Warren, who looked really good against Miami in week 1. They scored over 30 points, all right? And I know Miami stinks, but that's still impressive to put up over 30 points in a dominating fashion in a game like that. So, we'll see how the Colts look. Like, Shane Steichen has had Tara Lawson and Mike Tomlin's number the last couple times they've played. They haven't beat them since 22, like you point out there, Justin. So, yes, absolutely. I think that's a losable game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's also a winnable game, of course, if, the Steelers are buttoned up, if the pass rush can get to Daniel Jones, and, they can do a good job covering up their weapons, then I think they can absolutely win that game. But that one does kind of stink of a trap game for sure at home. Then we get into Rick Rollers here. Says, how likely are the Steelers to say, screw getting a wide receiver and spend our remaining cap space on a guard to save Aaron Rodgers' life? I think we're good at guard. Isaac Seumalo and Mason McCormick looked fine. In fact, I think McCormick was probably the best offensive lineman for the Steelers last week on film. That's my personal opinion, but I thought McCormick looked good last week. And I think that he's done a good job in training camp. Rodgers has been super, complimentary of him. I think it's left tackle is where the issue is, and that might be where your question was directed, Rick, was left tackle, because Broderick Jones gave up 3 out of the 4 sacks. He gave up a lot of pressures. He wasn't good in the run game. He was a disaster in week 1. So hopefully Broderick's able to turn it around, and we'll see what happens here. I don't think that the Steelers still have a lot of cap space available to them, guys, over like $23 million. So, like, I don't know if there's one move that can take up the rest of the cap space. The Steelers can make multiple moves if they want to. They can get a tackle and a receiver if they feel the need to. So that's where we're at right now. We got Collapsed Throne, otherwise known as Fernando Martin. My man says, what role do you think Roman Wilson will play this week? Do you think Tomlin will play him more, or could Tomlin be saving his talent for later this season since there's not much tape on him? Listen, man, if he could play, I feel like he'd be out there more. That's the way I feel about it. If you have a really good player, like, the thinking is, let's sit him and let's save him for the rest of the season. It's like, no, we have a limited amount of games. One loss could mean we miss the playoffs. We're not saving our best players. Like, that's not the way, NFL coaches really think. If they have really good players, they play them. And Roman Wilson only played 10 snaps in week 1. Now, that's mostly because the Steelers played a lot of 12 personnel and put Jonnu Smith out there, who's pretty much like another big wide receiver. He's not really like a true tight end. He's more of a big slot guy, just like a giant slot guy, to be completely honest with you. Plus, they played Ben Skoranek quite a bit as a blocking type of receiver as well. They like Ben a lot, and for good reason. He's an awesome special teams player, and you guys saw what he did on that touchdown. So, he's a big glue guy in this team. So we'll see what Roman Wilson's able to do the rest of the season. But I really think if this team trusted him more, if they really felt like he was the impact player that maybe we thought or were hoping that he was going to be this year, I think he'd be out there more. But good news is Calvin Austin looked awesome in week 1. The complementary pieces really worked well together in week one, whether that's Jonnu, whether that's Skoranek, whether that's Muth. All those pieces seem to fit together nicely. So as long as there isn't an injury, I feel like, this situation's pretty good right now. But certainly rooting for Roman. Hopefully he can get on the field more and play more productively in the weeks to come. So let me know down there in the comments section, do you still believe in Roman Wilson? Simply give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. I really want to believe in him, man. He's a good kid. He cares about it. I'm really hoping as the season goes on, he begins to really develop into a nice piece for this offense. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pin combo. In just a second here, you're going to get an ad break here on YouTube. When that happens, give me a yes or a no down there in the comments. $2 from Bernard Nixon says, who's better, Aaron Rodgers or Justin Fields? Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. Now, Fields, if I'm the Jets, I'm really happy about Justin Fields, and they should feel happy. They're a rebuilding team with a new head coach. They're starting over, and Fields is perfect for that situation. He's a younger quarterback. I think he's a really good fit for what Tanner Engstrand, who, by the way, might be the next, big-time offensive, head coach candidate in the league. He had a really nice offensive plan week one. He had his offensive line ready to go despite Elijah Vera-Tucker being out. Big kudos to him, and Fields delivered some nice passes. He was really good as a rusher. He evaded pressure well. The Steelers, I think, were top 5 in pressure rate in week one, and Justin Fields only went down for 1 sack. So really good game from Fields. He had a couple really bad moments in the clutch, which is kind of what he's known for. He pulled a couple read options where he should not have pulled it. But, overall, I think Aaron Rodgers, if you flip these two quarterbacks in that game, there's no way Fields is leading that Steelers team back to victory, in my opinion. There's just no way. And if you give Rodgers that level of protection, if you give Rodgers that run game, if you give Rodgers what Justin Fields had in that game, I don't think he gives up that lead. It's just my personal opinion, but I think Rodgers is the better quarterback right now. And I would rather have him if I'm the Steelers. Then we got Michelle here. Says, how many sacks will TJ Watt have at the end of the season? New subscriber. Well, welcome to the channel, Michelle. Thanks for clicking that subscribe button and getting a question in here on the mailbag. When it comes to sacks this year, I would say anywhere between 10 and 15 is what I can expect from TJ Watt, about somewhere less than a sack per game. But I'm not expecting like the sack record or anything like that this year from TJ. I'm not sure if he's as disruptive as a true pass rusher as he used to be. He's still an elite run defender, and he's still really good at forcing fumbles. That's really where most of the value from TJ Watt comes from. And a lot of the sacks from Watt nowadays, guys, because he's getting chipped so often, which slows him down, is really cleanup sacks created from other players that are more disruptive, like Alex Highsmith, like Cam Hayward. Now, TJ Watt, this is one of the most underrated skill sets in the league for an edge rusher, in my opinion, is he's got such great instincts to know where the quarterback is going to step up in the pocket. And he knows where the quarterback's going to be based on the initial pressure. His instincts for the game are just so good. And then, his technical ability to get the quarterback on the ground is some of the best in football. So I still think it's going to be a very good sack number this year. But if you're expecting like 20-plus sacks, I would maybe temper my expectations a little bit. Then we got one from Chuck Dugan. Says, which position do you think you would make a move for before wide receiver? It's a good question there, Chuck. Because obviously wide receiver is the big one that people talk about. For me personally, the one that I'm looking at is left tackle with Broderick Jones. Now, I'm not making that move right now. I'm giving Broderick at least a few weeks to show us what he can do. But if he sucks midway through the season and you're a playoff caliber team and you're like, we can't survive in the playoffs with Broderick Jones at left tackle, that's when I'm making a move. I'm working the phones, trying to find a team that has a starting caliber tackle that they're trying to move, and I'm trying to get that player on my football team. So I would say that's probably the position that I'm looking for. But before we get into the rest of the questions on today's mailbag, guys, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Ethos. And guys, the summer before I started here at Chat Sports, my family unfortunately lost my late grandfather. And as you tend to do when you lose a loved one, you begin to think about your own mortality and what would happen to the people dependent on you if something were to happen. With today's sponsor, Ethos, your family is protected. Cassie and I are getting married soon. Shortly after that, I imagine we'll buy a house and start having some kids. If something were to happen to me, I want the last thing the people I love to worry about is being able to pay the bills, so I trust Ethos to keep them protected. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There's no complicated process, and it's 100% online. There's no medical exam required, and you just answer just a few short health questions to get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos today. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily to get your free quote today. Yes, no, Evans here, or YN Evans, says, do you think we might go to the Super Bowl this year, and who do you think we will play at the Super Bowl? And new subscriber, and you think Big Ben will come out of retirement. Do not think Big Ben's coming out of retirement, my friend. Maybe he goes into coaching at some point. Who knows? But honestly, it sounds like he's enjoying podcasting and retirement life and all that different stuff. So happy for Ben. But when it comes to the Super Bowl, I think it's a possibility. I don't think the Steelers are Super Bowl favorites. I want to make that abundantly clear. Right now, I don't think that they're the best team in the league or anything like that. They have to prove that up front. I think they're going to have a much better run game than what they showed in Week 1. They're going to have a much better run defense than they showed in Week 1 to be in that conversation. But, can they get into the conversation of, the 6 to 8 teams that could feasibly go on a run in January? Absolutely. I think the Steelers have been in the playoff contender category over the last several years, but they haven't been in the Super Bowl contender category the last several years. It's felt like the last few times the Steelers have made the playoffs, that's they're a pretty competitive, good team, and they made the playoffs, but they really don't have any shot to go all the way. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year, that is a different feeling with Aaron Rodgers in this offense. I'm hoping that by the time we get to the playoffs, even if the Steelers are 10-7, if they're finishing the season hot, if Aaron Rodgers in the offense is humming, if the defense is playing the way it's supposed to be playing, if you have all those elements there, guys, the Steelers could go on a run. They really could. They got the talent on this team to do it. It's the most talented Steelers team, I would say, since probably 2017, towards the end of the Killer B era. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to be able to do. You got to keep a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers healthy. You got to keep, T.J. Watt healthy. You got to keep Jalen Ramsey healthy. There's certain players that can't afford to be injured once you get to the playoffs in order to legitimately, make a run. But my goal and my expectation here and what I want out of this season is that I want to have the feeling come January that this team could go on a run. And if that's the case, I can live with any of the results. Then we get to Jacob. Says, what do you think about the Steelers scouting majority quarterbacks or offensive tackle at wide receiver at college football games this year? Do you think that shows what the weaknesses are? Well, I think that they're always looking ahead and they're always projecting, which players are going to be hitting free agency, which guys they're going to be expecting to bring back, all that different stuff. And there's always that future planning. But yeah, Jacob, they're going to take a quarterback in round 1 next year. More than likely, that's going to be what they do. They may even trade up and trade the 2027 first-round pick to go get their guy. All right, whether that's Lenora Sellers, whether that's Drew Aller, whether that's John Mateer, whether that's Garrett Nussmeier, whether that's maybe even Carson Beck, who knows, who gets into that round 1 conversation. But they're going to do their extensive research on these college quarterbacks that are going to be pro quarterback prospects, because let's face it, man, your starting quarterback's 41 years old. This might even be his last year in the league. And even if he does come back for one more season next year, you would probably want to still draft a future quarterback, franchise quarterback to learn behind him. So almost 100% certain at this point in time, they're drafting a quarterback. The only way where it really doesn't happen is if the Steelers stink this year, Will Howard gets an opportunity and he balls out. So that chance is super, super, super thin to me at this point in time. Very, very high majority they take a quarterback in round 1 next year. All right, guys, make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already, if you are a real one. We still got a couple more questions to get to here before we finish up today's mailbag. But if you appreciate the content that we give to you guys here on the channel, don't forget to click that thumbs up icon because it really does help us out. Got one from Pat Lepla, Black Diamond member, one of the real ones here, says, do you think they will trade Broderick Jones? I don't think anyone wants Broderick Jones, Pat. Now, I think the real question they should be asking is, will they replace Broderick Jones? Whether that be with somebody in-house, Calvin Anderson, Andrus Peat, their backup tackles, whether that means putting Darnell Washington there. I think that's probably a last resort. but that's certainly on the table. Whether that means going out to free agency and getting a guy like maybe David Bakhtiari, maybe that's going out in a trade to get someone like Cam Robinson, Braden Smith, Braxton Jones, Rasheed Walker. All those guys are legitimate trade options before we get to the trade deadline. Obviously, I think the Steelers will give Broderick at least a few more weeks to see what he can do. But if we get closer to the trade deadline and he's still being a turnstile and giving up multiple sacks a game on Aaron Rodgers, they're not going to have a choice. They might even have to overpay to get a starting caliber tackle here in Pittsburgh. All right, man. So next question, Gary Frank says, do you think the defense guy gets their ass chewed through the play this weekend? So I think he's asking, did the defense get their ass chewed with the way they played this weekend? Yes, they did. If I know Mike Tomlin, man, he's not accepting that. Obviously it's happened too many times, especially in big moments under Mike Tomlin's leadership here in Pittsburgh with Terrell Austin calling the plays. It needs to be better. And I think that Cam Hayward and some of the players will tell you, it's more on the players not being ready to play than it was on the coaches. But, you can easily make the argument, hey, the coaches should have had them more prepared and ready to go and hit somebody in the mouth. But it was very clear to start that game last week that the Jets came out more ready to play. They landed the first punch, so to speak, and I don't think that the Steelers are going to want to do that again. I think that, especially with Jalen Ramsey there, bringing the juice, TJ Watt, his level of focus, Cam Hayward and his leadership, I don't expect that to be the case most weeks. I think this week in particular, they're going to be coming out hot, and I'm just hoping people do their job. I mean, last week, that was a big issue in the run game is people out of position, not filling in their run fit, trying to make a play. Like, just do your job, man. There's more than enough talent here to be able to make this work. You don't have to go out of your way to try and make a crazy play like some of these linebackers were trying to do last week. Just do your job, and everything will be fine. Then we get to Kevin Reed. Says, do you think we'll use Kaleb Johnson this week? No, I don't. I think that Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell will continue to be the featured backs in this offense. And honestly, Jalen had a pretty good week. He had 4.5 yards per touch. It's just they didn't get him the football until the second half. Like, they kept giving the ball to Kenneth Gainwell in the first half, and because the offensive line wasn't really getting any push, he was getting stopped. And, Kenny should be out there more in these third down, second and long type of situations where it's more, pass catching type situations. And Jaylen Warren should be out there 75% of the time. Kaleb, the thing about Kaleb is that I think the coaches will tell you the game's moving a little fast for him right now, so they're giving him time to catch up. And then also, he doesn't provide anything as a pass catcher. He drops too many passes, and he doesn't provide anything as a pass protector. He sucks at it. So, you can't put him out there on third down. He's only an early down back, and he's not even the best early down back on the team. So that's why he's the third running back right now. Instead of the first, but he's going to get more and more opportunities as the season goes on. He got one opportunity against the Jets, was a poorly designed and poorly blocked toss play, of course, but he's going to continue to get more and more opportunities. He might get 2 or 3 carries this week, and he continues to get more and more as the season goes on and more on his plate. But this week, expect to see Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell once again most of the time out there. So scale it for me down there in the comment section. How concerned are you with the Steelers' run defense? Scale it on a scale of 1, meaning I'm not worried at all. They're going to be phenomenal this year, to 10, meaning we suck. We got to blow it up. We got to go get new players right now. These players can't defend the run. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. For me, I'm sitting at about a 3 or a 4. There's some concerning things on that film, but I think as this game went on, they did some really good stuff in the run game to give this team a chance to win it at the end. So I'll put it at about a 3. We'll see how they do this weekend. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Of course, the Seattle Seahawks come to town here on Sunday. We'll be going live at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time for 90 minutes of pregame coverage, followed by live play-by-play with our live watch party, and then post-game coverage as well once the game is over. So if you want a place to come hang out with your fellow Steelers fans on Sunday to watch the game together, this is where you guys can do that. Click that subscribe button right now to join the largest individually run Steelers news channel anywhere here on YouTube.